This is Jay Michaels, and we are here for Boston Sci-Fi Week on Channel I. Now, Boston Sci-Fi demands its own week. Why do you say that? Boston Sci-Fi is the largest genre film festival in America, and here's one. It's the second largest in the entire world. There are more films in this festival and more events than there are stars in the heavens. Now, you might say to yourself, how did it get to be so huge? There's so many festivals out there. How did it get to be so amazing? Well, I can tell you now, after at least 3 days of talking to these visionary artists, they're the reason. It's the largest and the greatest. And I'm here with two more visionary film festivals. Very exciting film designers, film directors, really excited to chat with them. Gentlemen, I'm glad you're here. How are you?
Good. It's good to be here.
So far, so good.
I hear you. Okay, so tell me about your contribution to Boston Sci-Fi. What amazing bit of brilliance do we have? Ryan, is it pronounced Gentle?
Yep. Yep.
Gentle. That's so funny. Ryan Gentle. Well, tell us about your movie, Ryan.
So Galileo is a father-son story. It takes place over about 20 years. It's about 13 minutes long, so it's kind of hard to convey all that in such a short time. But it was really kind of it's a little bit of a tribute to my dad. My brother and I grew up watching Star Wars, Star Trek, all kinds of stuff like that. So my dad kind of gave us that love of science fiction at an early age. And so this is kind of like a tribute to him in a way, and also kind of like a little bit of a throwback to those. Like this could be like in my head, this would be really cool for it to be like the intro to a new character for like a Star Trek kind of world, and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, it's really just showing a relationship for a father and son over, the shared love of space over about 20 years. So it's the best way I can think of how to describe it.
You have just put a huge smile on my face. My happiest memories of my father, who's gone many years now, is when he took me to the conventions, and when we would go see various movies. I was sitting next to him when Darth Vader said, "Luke, I am your father." And I remember exactly where I am, and my happiest memories are the movies and all that goes with it with my dad. So something tells me we're going to walk out of your film feeling very misty.
Yeah, probably. I definitely cried a lot when I was writing it. So, and I've had a lot of people give responses saying that they were getting really teary-eyed from it. So that's good to hear that it's what I was originally, how I was writing it is the same kind of emotion people were getting from watching it. So that's a good feeling knowing I was able to convey that.
I'm also thrilled that you did this because horror, sci-fi, and fantasy, I think, is really coming into its own. It's winning Academy Awards. It's winning major other awards. It's huge talented individuals are in these films. It's really becoming. It's more than just that B picture genre. It's this really amazing thing, and what comes with it, but a sense of heart and of love and why we love it. And so you're as it's growing as a genre, you're kind of showing us why the joy that we had in seeing it. You're tapping into its foundations as well as these characters.
Yeah. A lot of people always say write what you know, and obviously I'm not going to ever go to space in my lifetime. Just thinking of the logistics. I'm 6'5". The height requirements, the weight, the amount of food you'd have to eat, all that would be like astronauts are like 5'10" and under or something like that. So I'm like, well, there went my chance for it. But I know a lot about the relationship I had with my dad and everything, and I still have with him. I'm fortunate enough that he's still around. It's going to be a little bit different in that story, but I know the relationship I had with him and like learning all this stuff at an early age and kind of just getting that sense of wonder from it, and like you were talking about too, a lot of movies, a lot of science fiction, especially, it used to be like, oh, that's, kind of geeky or whatever and all that. But, if you have a good story at the heart of it, then you can kind of write about as long as that's at the center of it, you can write pretty much any genre and get people to, get on board with it pretty quick. So that was the goal.
I'm smelling a little autobiography in here.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. It took different turns than my life in a lot of ways, but definitely drawn from from the stuff I actually have gone through. So yeah, definitely had a part with it. That's why it was for me so much more emotional to write in the first place. It was kind of cathartic, like writing out some of my emotions over that, over my. I think I was. Let's see. I was 23 when I wrote it, so it's kind of like writing 23 years worth of emotion in a 20-year story. So that's kind of
Wow.
how I was going for it.
I really commend you. I think it's great that you went to the heart, if you will, of the genre, as opposed to just here, as opposed to lampooning that or glossing it over. To really hit that part of it, I think is really beautiful. It's really beautiful. I look forward to your movie. And when will it be?
I think it's going to be on Saturday. I think that's correct, but you have to look at the dates on the schedule and otherwise, because I'm not entirely sure of it.
Saturday the
13th.
13th. That's what I thought. Saturday the 13th. Oh well. There's a unique love story for the Valentine's weekend,
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. That's great. And Wade Chitwood. Did I pronounce it correctly?
That's
there
correct.
You go. 2 for 2. Wow. Okay. I'm doing well today. Wade, tell me about your film.
My film is called The Prospector, and it's about a asteroid prospector who is searching the universe for his fortune. And in the process, he has to come and look directly at his soul and decide what he's willing to sacrifice to achieve this ambition. And once he does that, he gets an eye-opening, life-changing moment, you might say.
We have a little Twilight Zone in there. And
it's a very Twilight Zone, yes. Only thing it has a Twilight Zone twist in it, but then it has another twist on top of that twist. So,
of course, 21st century.
Right.
What's the twist? Another twist.
Another twist.
Silly question. Do you like Shakespeare?
Yeah, well, The Tempest, right? Because that's the Forbidden Planet. That's how I got turned on to Shakespeare. Was someone goes, the Forbidden Planet is The Tempest, and I went, oh.
It might seem a weird question and a weird reason, but in Shakespeare, the word ambition, when we say ambitious, this can almost be a compliment. But ambition in Shakespeare is a much stronger word. You hear it a great deal in Julius Caesar and many others, where they say someone has the sin of ambition. And so you're talking about this man who travels the universe for his fortune, and how far, and there's the euphemism, how far will he go for his desires? And it sounds like he has reached a certain tipping point in his life.
Right. Well, is he willing to sacrifice his soul to reach this ambition for his riches and glory, as it would be?
I'm nosy. All right. When you say soul, do you mean it euphemistically? Like we say, I sell our soul for something. Do you mean it euphemistically, or are we digging deeply?
Well, we're digging very deeply. He has to look directly at it. Without giving it too much away, right? He has to do an inner search. And when he's doing his inner search, he comes face to face with it, and he has to go, do I want to give it all up, or should I just turn and run? So
I think that's really amazing. Again, the fantasy genre, we always say we're soul searching. Okay, that's great. But when you're talking sci-fi or fantasy,
yeah,
you really can.
What really turned out nicely too was there's a local Portland. I'm from Seattle. There's a Portland rock band called the Shivas, and I asked them if I could use their music because I didn't want to use the usual sci-fi, kind of Forbidden Planet music. And they went, yeah, sure, go ahead and use it. And it just turned out, by the grace of God or whatever, the natural forces out there, the music ended up narrating what is going on in this guy's head. And once I laid it in there, and I was just like, holy shit, that's going to work, So it was the story, and then on top of that, I was lucky enough to get another story that kind of filled in all of my ups and downs, as you would say. So
an ancient philosophy that things grow where they are needed. And they mean it in the sense of plants and resources, but in this world, resources can be a lot of things. So that band grew exactly where you needed it to enhance your movie.
Yeah, what was weird was, like, I'd finished the movie and I was like, okay, I need to get some music, and I was with my wife and we were driving someplace, and we have a local radio station here, KEXP, that plays local bands, and they came on, and I was like, oh, it's like kind of a surf rock. And I was like, I wonder if I could use that, if that would fit, And so who knows? If I hadn't been driving around that day, I never would have heard the band. I didn't know them. So
things grow where we need them to
right.
grow. Now with Ryan, it's obvious what the inspiration was. Like I said, there are memories in his head that are suddenly now on this film. What was the inspiration for yours? What prompted you to look into the soul of a character?
Well, it's funny. I was watching this movie called There Was a Crooked Man, Kirk Douglas movie, and it's a Western, and he gets put in the Yuma jail for bank robbery, I think it is. Anyway, when he's in there, he meets Burgess Meredith, who's the Missouri kid, who's doing life in the Yuma prison. And so the Missouri kid goes over to him and goes, look, kid, in order to survive in here, he goes, you got to get yourself a farm. And so what he had done is he built a farm in his head just to get through the day-to-day life. And I was like, oh, I like that. Because every once in a while in the movie, they'd pan over to Burgess Meredith and he'd just be kind of, watching the air circulate around his head. But he was doing his farm, And at one point it starts raining and he goes, oh, it's raining. It's going to be good for my crops. Like he had built this entire fantasy in his head and he was living it. So that was my inspiration for that movie.
To bring to reality what's deep inside of us.
Right. Well, sometimes your fantasy in your head is much better than your reality, right? So
it's funny you say that. You're almost giving us this little tiny parable about the world of social media that we live in now in a strange way, because what we see on this screen, our avatar, are the lives that we hand other people. Is that our dream life that we want other people to see as opposed to our real life? What are we doing there? So you're kind of giving us that little bit of now that we can take this out of here and put it somewhere else, what's the cost of doing that?
Right. Well, and like if your reality is too painful, just sit in your head,
Right. That's really fascinating. That's really clever thinking. And I laugh. Burgess Meredith was everywhere. Every movie has Burgess Meredith. I think he's like Waldo. You can find him in any movie somewhere. Right. I think he's
or Ward Bond. It seems Ward Bond's in every movie.
Well, he was in every Western, I think. I'm not sure, but Burgess Meredith was just everywhere. I was watching an old TV show called Lights Out, and it was like from the 50s, and they had no budget, and it was this weird little sci-fi series that predates Twilight Zone and all of that. And I'm watching an episode, and who's in it? Burgess Meredith.
Right.
So it's like he was just everywhere.
Well, and he's in one of the key Twilight Zones of all time, right? Where he's wants to read his books, and there's a nuclear war, and at the end he drops the glasses.
Oh, I remember that one. Yeah.
It's in the top 10 Twilight Zones of all time.
Okay, then you've both done it to me now. I sat with a smile as Ryan tells me all about his relationship with his father and how it connects into this movie. And I remember my father and giving me the love of this type of movie. And one of the things that he showed me was the Twilight Zone, and that was the first episode I ever saw of the Twilight Zone, and I was terrified. It reached the point all the way through my life that I refused to wear glasses. I refused to let my eyes reach that point. Finally, one day when I had to give up and just wear the glasses, I was like, okay, they can't break. It was so convincing to me. So you both brought me down memory lane, and for that, I really appreciate it. Wade, when is your movie?
As I think about it, I think it's Friday at 2:00 in the afternoon.
Friday the 12th.
The 12th, yes, correct.
Friday the 12th at 2 in the afternoon. Excellent. Well, people, you don't have to write down exactly what you've heard these two amazing filmmakers say, because you can go to bostonscifi.com, Boston, SCIFI.com, and there are panels, interviews, articles, stories, and the full listing of when all of these amazing films are. This interview and many others will be up on Channel I. You go to J. Michaels Arts, JayMichaelsArts.com, and there's a link there to go to YouTube's Channel I, so you can hear all about these amazing filmmakers and their work. And gentlemen, I got to congratulate you again. You hear everything, the horror stories from, well, I had to do the film on $37.50, so I had to make that work, all the way through to tapping into my psyche to get it written and whatever. But the bottom line that I'm hearing from all of you, and you two are prime examples, the brilliant ideas that come out of your head and suddenly are brought to reality. I think that is really majestic. Congratulations to both of you. Have a great time with the festival, and here's to great success on your films.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing all the films in it, so I'm very excited.
Indeed. Same here. Thank you, gents.
Thank you.
Thank you.